Here on our farm, I raise our chickens in 3 separate flocks. Each of them have their own individual coop, and there's some very distinct reasons why I've chosen to do this. This may not be a system for everyone. However, there may be some things here you want to consider. In my opinion, there's many positives in doing this with only one real drawback. So stick around and I'll talk about the reasons why I've chosen to do this and show you what a day in the life of these chickens is here in our composting operation. The first thing I'm going to do is let these kids out. They're definitely ready to go to work this morning. What I do is I fold in a bunch of grain into their piles, and then as I let them out in the morning, they realize this and they go immediately to work on those piles. Here's coop number 1. You guys want out too, don't you? How about you guys? Yeah, there's probably about 2.5 yards in this particular pile that happens to be about 3 months old. That far pile underneath that tarp over there is about 7 months old. And then that's the newest pile where we've been bringing in a lot of vegetable waste and yard clippings and food scraps. One of the first and foremost reasons I like doing this is so as to not put all my eggs in one basket, so to speak. If I were to have a breach of any one of these coops, I may lose some due to a predator attack. However, I'm not going to have my whole flock going to be decimated in one evening. My production isn't going to be completely eliminated with one predator attack. Yeah, one very interesting thing to observe is these chickens just naturally know who their flock mates are, and they will adjourn in the evening to their respective coops. So the coop that's behind the camera right now has 7 birds in it, and that's my oldest flock. This one here has 11 birds in it, 10 hens and 1 rooster. And then the far coop back there has 6 birds in it, 5 hens and 1 rooster. And so in the evening, they will just naturally go to those coops. The reason why that's very beneficial for me is because it allows me to assess the performance of these birds a lot easier, because each one of these coops has their own laying and nesting boxes. My oldest flock compared to my youngest flock compared to my middle-aged flock. And I can assess at that point at which point I need to rotate these birds out. It's purely performance-based because each individual breed has their own laying characteristics and production values. By now having a coop that's empty, it allows us to bring birds straight out of the brooder and integrate them into their own coop without any pressure from these more dominant birds within the chicken yard. Yeah, another really important aspect of doing this is flock biosecurity. I think it's really important to be able to provide physical isolation. Last winter, in fact, I had a virus that ran through this particular coop. I was able to successfully treat 6 of the birds and had them recover from that virus. However, I did wind up losing 2 additional. So that's one of the reasons why I only have 5 birds in this coop. However, if I had allowed those birds to have access to all of the rest of the flock, I could have had a much more severe problem. So I really like to be able to isolate these birds in that way. Yeah, there's 1,200 square feet in this chicken yard, and there's plenty of things for them to do all day. You get to roam around and go and tear into these piles, find food, and go hang out. And there's a spot over here where they like to dust bathe. In the afternoons, this is a pretty popular location for them. They like to come over into the exit chute. Compost comes into the yard there. It gets worked, and through many, many months of being worked, it winds up making its way down to the exit chute and goes out this gate here, where it can wind up going directly into our garden boxes or anywhere else on the property that we have a use for it. I think what I'll do is set the camera up and allow you to watch chickens just being chickens.
Most of the chickens' activity tends to be concentrated in the early morning and late afternoon. During the heat of the day, they become less active and they seek to find shade and less vigorous activities like dust bathing. Dust bathing is a natural activity for chickens. It helps to keep them clean by removing excess oil and debris from their skin and feathers. It also helps to keep them cool in the summertime and remove parasites. We always provide our chickens with plenty of clean water, but despite our best intention, they seem to know what they like best.
All right, come on. Come on. Go on, get in there. The one true downside to this operation is just the fact that there's more moving parts by having 3 separate coops. And when you're asking somebody to farm sit or you have somebody looking after your animals for the weekend, it just makes it a little bit more cumbersome. But for us, it's not really that big of an issue. The animals pretty much retire to their respective quarters. They all know where they need to be at night, and it's just one extra step for us. But that's really the only downside. If you like this video, you might like some of our other videos in our chicken composting playlist. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.